In this video, we are in conversation with Jelena, who is the founder of Amazonia PPC with over 6 years of experience in running ads across multiple platforms. Currently, she's helping multiple sellers like you and me to scale up our Amazon FBA businesses to 7- and 8-figure Amazon FBA businesses by using PPC. In this conversation, we are going to be covering some mind-blowing questions, starting with when should you be scaling your Amazon FBA business? How should you be scaling your Amazon FBA business, as in what strategies can you use to scale up your Amazon FBA business? How do you deduce the perfect cost per click so that you don't lose money when you're running ads on Amazon? How do you identify the size of the market so that you understand how big your Amazon business can grow? And how do you create a perfect listing with the right amount of keywords so that you have a highly convertible listing on Amazon? To give you the most amount of value throughout this video, you will see note texts like this one, which are important pieces of information which you need to write down or save or take screenshots of. You will also see summarized information on the right side, so pay attention across the video, try to take screenshots and try to take these notes, because this is important gold value-filled information that you're getting from a person who's helping multiple sellers scale up their business. Also, don't forget to drop in any questions you might have across the video. Pause the video, drop the question, drop the comment below so that Jelena can get back to you with her response directly under this video. Without any further ado, let's get in the video and let's extract all the information that Jelena has to give us today in this video. So yeah, I guess we're connecting for the very first time since we've been connected through social, right? Over a video, we're connecting for the very first time, and yeah, happy to have you here. So
Thank you.
let's start the part of the video right away, and let's start with a small introduction about yourself and your company, which is about PPC primarily, but I believe you also do a bit of listing optimization and things like that, right?
Yes. Yes, I'm a owner of Amazonia PPC, which is an Amazon advertising agency, mostly dedicated to managing PPC campaigns on Amazon. We used to manage PPC on Google as well, but now we decided to focus only on the Amazon marketplace. And also we have one part of the team that are basically copywriters, which is part of the team that only does copywriting, not PPC, so that we can separate the focus and do both things exactly
Right.
the way that should be done. So yeah,
Yep.
product listing optimization and PPC, what we do.
Yeah. I believe they go hand in hand, because even if you try to push PPC hard, if your listing is not very well optimized, you will not be able to retain the rankings that you try gain through PPC, right? And that's always challenging, and plus it also impacts your ACOS and things like that, right? At the end of it, like when you're looking at a long term PPC strategy, listing optimization and keyword optimization is basically part of the process. So it's very sensible that you have both of those services, because I guess the first thing that you would want your client to do is to optimize their listing first before you're investing any energy in PPC or PPC campaigns, strategy, or optimization, either way, right?
100%, yeah. It can definitely improve your conversion rates. That's the main reason why we keep them. So that's why we do that
Right,
kind of
right.
service.
And it's interesting that you just mentioned that initially you were probably into Google AdWords and PPC around that, and I've
Yeah.
seen multiple people kind of niche down towards Amazon, just because I believe that Amazon itself is a very thriving market, and I've interacted with almost 3-4 other people who have made this shift from just being a Google Ads expert or Google PPC expert towards Amazon PPC expert.
Yes, yes. I guess the reason for that is the shift in the e-commerce space in general, not just
Yeah.
our focus or attention. It's just that the online shoppers have started to focus on marketplaces much more than what they do in individual e-commerce websites, and
Right.
they give their trust more to the platform than what they do to hundreds of different websites. They simply
Right.
put when you use your credit card and enter your data in one marketplace, you don't have to repeat that process ever again. It's streamlined, and of
Right.
course the choice you have of products and the guarantees and the transparency and all of that are just additional reasons why average shoppers prefer marketplaces. And then you can notice that through rising PPCs on Google, for example. CPCs, cost per click on
Yeah.
average, is rising year over year. So it's become more and more unprofitable for sellers to advertise on Google. But that's a whole different topic.
Right.
We decided to focus only on the things that work for now.
So how long have you been, running this company and just focusing on Amazon ecosystem and getting clients from Amazon?
It's been 2 years now
2 years.
since
Wonderful.
2018, only Amazon, but we've been in the PPC industry for the last 6 years. We
Awesome.
focus on other platforms.
All right, Helena. So, am I correctly pronouncing your name? How is it
Yes,
pronounced?
Jelena.
What do you have for us today in terms of the information and insights that you can, share with the community and, even enlighten me for the next phase that I'm getting into?
I thought about different topics that we might go through today, and I can't really separate one topic only because it's a part of one big whole,
Right.
FBO. But I thought that maybe we could talk about scaling and different options for scaling of accounts on Amazon.
Right.
This was the discussion I had with one of my team members yesterday, and it's pretty fresh to me, some of the insights that we had and the different opinions. So if you want to talk about that, we can start the discussion.
So let's start with the most primal question that any person should be asking themselves is that when is it right for them to even think about scaling, right? Because people worry about things in advance much before that they even get into that state. So that would be the question that I also ask, or I would expect that any community member should ask themselves, when should you start scaling?
That's a very good question. I mean, you should start scaling as soon as you see that, first of all, that you have all the conditions answered. First of all, there has to be a demand in the marketplace, whether
Right.
it's fulfilled with competitors or not. There still has to be some kind of demand. I mean, you can't scale if there's no one to shop your product, right? So if you know for sure that there's enough space for you to grow and you have estimated that number, how much you can actually grow, then that's one of the preconditions to meet. Also, you have to have very stable supply chain management in place,
Right.
some kind
Right.
of system for supplying your inventory, not running out of stock. That's one of the things that are one of the most common challenges of growing. Every growth is
Yeah.
painful. I mean, it's something that has happened a lot this year, especially with the coronavirus crisis. The supply chain was a little bit. It was tricky for a lot of sellers. They lost a lot of money. So that's one of the preconditions definitely to be met, is to have
Yeah.
a stable supplier, very good relationship with your suppliers, whether that is in China or somewhere else. Um, I see a lot of sellers when they're scaling, they already have some systems in place to switch to FBM in case that FBA runs out of stock quickly.
Right.
That's also one of the things that's recommended to do. Not everyone can do it. Not everyone finds it cost effective to do it. Um, and of course, the willingness to lose in order to win. I mean, what I mean by that is to reinvest in your business as it grows. In most of the
Right.
cases, you will see the same amount of profit as your revenue grows, because the spend, the cost will also grow. And when we grow a PPC account, it's done mostly through PPC. But if there are different ways how you can scale an account. Of course, that depends on what kind of approach you want to take, whether it's more aggressive or more conservative.
Hmm.
You could also grow linear through expanding your product offerings. Like if you have a yellow version of that product, you launch blue and green and red, and then automatically will have more sales. Then you fight
Right.
through the ranks, and you could scale a product that sells really well. Make sure you sell more of that, more items of that same product. That's also one of the ways how you can do that. You could also launch more products that are similar. Like, for example, if you already have a brand of shoes, launch socks that are complementary to that products that you already have. And that's something that a lot of brands are doing, that are existing brands on Amazon. So if we're talking about this specific case where you have one product that you're looking to sell more items of, which is one of the most common situations that we encounter in our daily,
Right.
everyday work, then in that case, you have to be ready to invest more and have to do your research. Like most of the cases through keyword research, there are ways how you can estimate the demand that you have available to you at the present time. And then just see how much it costs, estimate how much cost per click you're willing to give up, how much you're
Right.
willing to pay to acquire the same customer. Um, those would be the preconditions. I mean, having stable supply chain management and being uh, willingness to lose in order to win more market share, I would say, are the most important ones.
Right. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Uh, yeah, I have two questions. One of them is just coming to me. One of the primitive questions that I would ask you, because you are, into PPC, is that when it comes to figuring out, what should be your CPC? Like, let's say we're looking at a beginner profile, somebody who's starting out on Amazon, and he's just about to, start running ads. And I guess most people feel this kind of a very intriguing and complex scenario when they start running ads, the money is going out of their account and they're not able to make sense of the data. And the most primary thing that somebody should be looking at when they're budgeting their PPC is the CPC, the cost per click. So how would you advise, or what would be the basic direction towards understanding, all right, this should be your maxima, this should be your minima. Minima, and this minima would be defined by Amazon to a certain extent and the market factors, but the maxima can also be defined, depending on the margins and the budgets that the person is having, right, to expend in PPC. So how should somebody do that kind of calculation?
That's a very good question. We usually take conversion rates as our baseline metric to calculate what maximum CPC are we willing to pay for. So, for
Okay.
example, if your conversion rate is 20% on a product, which is something that's used to be close to average on Amazon, 20% as a baseline, that means that every five clicks you get to have a sale, right? So if your product costs $10, that means that every five clicks. So if let's say if if your profit margin out of these $10 is $3, then you have to split the $3 between those five clicks, which makes it something less than $1. Let me quickly calculate
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
So basically, my point is you need to know your profit margins and you need to know your conversion rates. So 3 divided by 5 would be something like 60 cents as your max CPC that you should be willing to give in order to break even. That's just breaking even. You're not making any money in that case. You're just getting that product ramped up and getting it to sell. That's how we know what's something that we have to, what's the baseline. And in most of the cases, clients are happy to pay more than that, happy to lose money in advertising just to gain the ranks. And then
Right.
that money comes back to you through organic sales. So that's a whole different calculation. This that I just described has to do with just PPC.
Yeah, I believe that is sort of like a strategy that every thoughtful person should is implying that, initially definitely you'll be spending a lot more than you would receive in terms of your returns, and eventually it's supposed to go down and your profit margins should increase, right? So how do you, again, like, in terms of projections, because let's say if somebody wants to start working with you, or even if somebody's doing this on their own,
Mm-hmm.
how would somebody kind of, make that kind of projection, till when should I be spending, or how much should I, like, what should be my roadmap, like, in terms of number of days, or what should be the metric that would tell me, all right, it's going in the right direction now, or do I need to tweak my PPC strategy itself from the baseline to, tweak the results? Because that is a complex situation that a lot of people are not able to answer for themselves, and that puts them in this state of, again, like, chaos, as to, they're spending money, they're not able, they because everybody is saying that it'll eventually start becoming organic, they're continuing to spend, but they fail to realize that, they, as per the inventory that they have or the strategy that they've built, that, it might never turn in the green side or it'll just stay in the red. So how do you kind of, make that sort of judgment or define a basic projection line?
We make that judgment based on two things. First of all, the competitiveness of the market. The more competitive the market is, then it means that there's more demand for it, and therefore more sales and more revenue to go after. And the second thing, the product phase, the phase, life cycle phase the product is currently in. That means whether we are just launching that product, or it's in the profitability phase, or this is the kind of product that's already kind of like dying out. So we know that we have to really make sure that we are super profitable on it, or at least not wasting money on it.
Right.
So in case that we are in a super competitive niche, that is something that usually always ends up in the green zone. For example, supplements is that's a very typical example of a highly competitive niche, where you have competitors, our CPCs that are like $3 to $5 per click, super expensive for a product that costs about $30 to $50. That's crazy expensive. And we have had clients that have, super high ACOS that they're happy with, because their ranks are so high that they're on the first page and their revenue makes up for it. And they're just like keep investing, reinvesting. So that's the kind of thing with competitive marketplaces. They might put up somebody from, if you're doing a product research and you estimate that this is a too competitive product, it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing, simply because it's a competitive. You just have to be more patient about it. But from my point of view and our experience, it's more the outlook for success in these marketplaces is even better if you're patient enough. So in that case, if you're in the competitive marketplace and you have the means, meaning money and time, patience to wait it out, it most certainly will work out if you're persistent enough. And in these cases, we're more flexible with spend. And in other cases, when you're not making, if you're not taking into account sales velocity as one of your factors for success on Amazon, meaning you get to have, brand of products that each one of them sells $3,000 to $5,000 per month, and then you get to certain 50,000, 100K per month in revenue, combined from 20 to 50 different products. In those cases, you have to be super careful with the profitability, and usually CPCs for products like these are lower because the competition is lower, and then you just try to save money on advertising. So that's one of the conditions that we take into account, and also with product life cycle phases, meaning if we're just launching a product, then of course we have to push it, and we run push campaigns, which is something like basically one or two keywords per campaign with very high budget, very super high bids, aggressive towards the placements that we are targeting. In those cases, our first priority is to get the product to sell, get it on the first page of the search results, and get it to rank. That's a process that usually takes about 2 to 3 months until we gather the reviews and all of that. It's a whole different game.
Right.
And then after that product starts to sell, it goes into this mature phase when you are trying to be as profitable as possible. Then you can, tweak the bids, make sure you withdraw certain placement bids if they're in place, things like these that can actually save you money and make you more profitable. And that's where you start caring about the spend. That's where you minimize the spend and maximize your profitability. And the same kind of judgment applies to the third phase of the product. If you see that the product's kind of like dying out, if it's something that maybe the marketplace has become saturated with it, maybe the competition is just too strong to beat you have to resort to other products and things like these. We've seen cases like that happen, unfortunately. But they do happen. So in these cases, you also try to save what can be saved and sell out and try different products. So it's always good not to be emotionally attached to a product.
Yes,
try to be
exactly.
emotionally attached to the process instead.
So I want to touch upon one thing that you mentioned. When it comes to scaling up, you have to also take into account what is the size of the market. And when it's about Amazon, you might just be focused on what is the size of the market inside of Amazon for a certain product or niche that you're looking at. So if you can take any example, or even if it's not without an example, how would somebody kind of come to that conclusion? Is it just by looking at the data that Helium 10 shows up at the top as a total, or is something else? Like, how would you define the market size, or at least like make an estimate of the amount of scale that you can achieve even before you start your selling a product?
Mhm. Yeah, if we're trying to estimate the market size, we will do that through keywords, and search volumes being the most important metric there. Basically, there are different steps that you take in order to verify the idea. And that being said, mostly focusing on the competition side of the doing product research. When you're doing product research, you're estimating the market size and also the competitiveness of the product, and then
Right.
see if you are strong enough to enter that marketplace. Most recently this year has shown it's like someone withdrew the line between the ones that are doing drop shipping and sellers that are entering the marketplace with big money, investing a lot, just entering, e-commerce in general, and Amazon as being one big chunk of e-commerce side of the business. And that being said, when you're trying to estimate the marketplace size, right now Helium10 is the only tool I would recommend. I think that they have the closest approximate estimates of uh, how much demand there actually is. They're pretty accurate, so that's the only tool I would use. And try to do keyword research. Try to think outside the box. I'm trying to think of some examples. Well, for example, if you from India, so you probably know about ashwagandha supplements. Very popular. It's sourced there and very
Yes.
popular in the U.S. market, for example. And it's also called. It has different names. It has like 4 or 5 different names. How people over here call it, how it's being sourced, how they call it there. You can search for it through the benefits that it brings to the consumer. You can search for it, for example, uh, through different pain points that it's solving as well. So it's like 4 or 5 different ways how you can find that product when you're doing keyword research, and they're all something
Right.
to keep in mind um, when you are trying to estimate the demand for the product. And that being said, you should know exactly how many direct consumers you have. For example, how many of them actually are searching for ashwagandha related search terms. And then you know how many customers are aware of your product, but also estimate the ones that are looking for, improve my sleep, supplements to improve energy levels or something like that, that your product can solve, that might or might not even be aware of the product, that you could help them gain not only brand awareness but product awareness, so that they become aware and become a frequent customer. That's one of the examples of supplements. How should you estimate your demand? So if there's a lot of search terms, obviously at least a couple thousand per month, then you know that there's enough demand in one marketplace. So
Okay.
that's
So
how we do it.
like if I can just summarize this, um, of course you mentioned many different ways to come and discover new keywords through which the customers might land in your product. So let's say I do that exercise, I come up with this list of keywords, and then I go to Helium 10. I look at the search volumes for those keywords, which is like average 30-day search volume per month, and I have this data. What do I do after around this? Like, is it just the search volume that I'm looking at, or am I doing something else after this?
You could look at clicks and compare how many clicks. If you compare search volume with clicks, that's similar to comparing impressions and clicks, which is the one of the ways how you estimate someone's interest in the product. If click-through rates are on
Right.
average are high, then in that case you know that there is a demand for the product. That's one of the ways how you can look at it. And
Right.
also everything else that you would do with that data, and there are a lot of things that you can do. Everything else that you do would be oriented towards verifying the product, meaning comparing how many competitors are already present on the first page for a certain number of keywords that are super relevant to the product. That's what we do. And if a percentage of them is very high, like there's 10 of them that already are 50 and more percent present on the first page, then it's a competitive marketplace, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it might put off a couple of people who aren't willing to step into that kind of game. Then, of course, if you have a product that someone might consume month over month, like the supplements, of course, it's something that also you should take into consideration. The difference between someone purchasing over and over again organically from you and the difference between someone that you're willing to invest in as your new customer. So, and those are all different things that you could do with this data. But when it comes to determining demand, you should just focus on the search volumes, being impressions and the clicks and the relationship between them. That is the click-through rate. That's something that you know for sure is a indication of demand.
Got it. Absolutely. So, like, we are talking about scaling. So you've mentioned that there are like some ways to scale is to, launch more variants. It could be color, sizes, or whatever. So, when you are doing this, let's say you have one of your clients and you see that the market is huge. There are ways that you can scale his account up or the revenue of the business up. Do you also, give insights to the client or your customer in helping them understand what should he be launching next for that parent product that is already selling around that? Because I believe you will get a lot of data anyways by analyzing the PPC, right?
Yes. So we do that for sure, and in most of the cases they are already aware of those suggestions because we're the subject matter expert on PPC and data and all of that, but they are the
Right.
subject matter experts of their own niches that they're in.
Right.
Most of the cases they're in it for years. So we tell them, but they already know. Like for example, stethoscopes and then some diamond rings that are attaching the stethoscopes together, and that costs like $3 to $4, and it's a great upsell product. And they know, like, yeah, it's in the pipeline. So in most of the cases, we will give recommendations, but it also depends on how what their current possibilities are to source that additional product, because in most of the cases, it's going to be a whole different factory that produces this product and other product, regardless of it being very supplementary to the one you already have.
Right.
In most of the cases, it's going to be something different. So some different supplier, and they have to work out the ways how they will source those. So it's not only a data game, unfortunately.
Alright, hey guys, so I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're finding value in this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel as well. Turn on the notification bell so that you are notified whenever a new video filled with value comes out, and you're able to grab this information and take notes and learn as soon as you can and as fast as you can. Alright then, let's get back. Now, I'm going to ask you a very simple question that you might get a lot of times, like if anybody is talking PPC about you, which is, and this is like the most basic question for somebody who's entering the market, right? What category or what kind of, CPC bids do you see across the categories, and which ones are like very expensive, which ones are just average? Especially like I would say highlighting the ones which you've seen to be expensive consistently throughout your experience.
If you mean on average CPCs, if that's what
Yes.
let me have a look at the categories now. I'm to remind myself. Of course, supplements super expensive. That's something I already mentioned. Toys and games always super expensive per click. Pet supplies, they're very popular, very expensive clicks. Home and kitchen, especially kitchen and groceries and all of that, is super expensive. And the beauty and personal care, we know that's super expensive. Everything else is more or less something you can work with, especially when you're in a niche. Then they tend to be less expensive, and if you are dealing with long tail keywords, they'll be less expensive. They have less volume, but they tend to be much more profitable than the ones that are super competitive. All these competitive marketplaces have a reason why they are so expensive. Simply, there's more players in the game, so the price will play a big role into who gets to win the first page. So that's the reason why, for example, with the groceries. With the groceries category, there you have a lot of retail arbitrage agents, which is people who basically go physically to, for example, to Walmart, and they buy toilet paper and then they
Right.
resell it on Amazon. So it's not just it's not just the third-party sellers, it's not just Amazon. You have also a bunch of people who resell things. They're not even fighting through the ranks, but they make your competition and they raise the price per click, and that's the reason one of the examples. The pet supplies, for example, is something that's super expensive because it's very highly competitive, but also something that has a high diversity of products as well. So that's one of the reasons. And there are things that are cheap, like we've seen. Most of the cases are going to be products that you never thought about before. I can name some of them because our clients are selling those, so I can disclose that. I didn't
Yeah.
say what's expensive, but the cheap ones, I mean, arts and crafts is something that we know has been cheapest so far.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's not,
Interesting.
I mean, and one of the things I like to talk about a lot is crowdfunding. So arts and crafts and all these technological things also like gadgets things are something that you can launch through a crowdfunding campaigns, not necessarily have to cost you a lot of money. And that's also one of the ways how you can verify a demand for a certain product, whether your marketplace will like the product or not. You can
Right.
easily see that whether they're backing it or not.
Exactly. Uh, Now I would ask you something because I'm like I said, I was working on a bigger project which might take maybe 5-6 months if I choose to do it after looking at the unit economics of that. But yeah, like it's in the supplements category. So any insights that you can give me around that market that I should be keeping in mind, just so that I can do all of these things or at least look at all of these things before I start, because you've said it twice now that it is definitely an expensive category in terms of CPC. So, what should I be looking at? What would be your advice to me for that particular roadmap that I have or journey that I'm going into?
Mm-hmm. Luckily, I do have experience with someone who has been very successful in that space. And one of the core basics of their success in the supplements category was high quality ingredients and the willingness to lose on the other side. So high quality ingredients that actually work for their customers is something that's 100% going to make them come back for the product next month.
Right.
And that guarantees you organic sales. That's
Right.
one of the things. Also, if you can somehow make it source in the marketplace where you're selling it. For example, if you're selling it in the USA, then you should try to source or make the lab, make the packaging something more local there. Then that wins the trust of customers who buy supplements. Unless it's something that's worldwide known as something that's best sourced elsewhere. Like I mentioned, ashwagandha is something that has the highest quality if it's sourced in India, or certain types of tea, tea leaves and
Right.
things like these. Of course, you're gonna prefer tea from Indonesia than the one from the USA because it's
Yeah.
higher quality and it's much better. Obviously, the matcha tea is something that you want to have from Japan, not from from the
Yeah.
USA. But for example, other types of supplements, vitamins and things like these, high quality ingredients is something that's if they see it's working, they're 100% coming back. And it's also relevant for cosmetics brands, not just for supplements. For cosmetics brands, if you're selling, certain hair type shampoos and conditioners, and it's working for that hair type, you have loyal customers. Customer loyalty is number one these days.
Mm.
Uh,
Right.
and also in not only in supplements but in all competitive categories. Super important to be patient and to invest. Simply like separate, if you're selling ashwagandha, just that one keyword ashwagandha in one campaign that has daily budget $300 per day. That makes it 9,000 per month. It's a lot, but it's something that will ensure you highest click-through rates, and then you have to make sure you have also the conversion rates that are also high, which is on the product listing optimization side. In that case, you will fight through the ranks pretty quickly. Also, I don't have any really good specific advice when it comes to generating reviews, because that's one of the toughest things, honestly,
Right.
for me and for everyone else that is in this business. Try to any kind of hack that I would give you is something that you already heard and tried, and people are just getting saturated by it. Just try to deliver high quality product, communicate a good message to your customers, and hope that they will get back through.
Oh, it's good to know that I was anyways trying to hit most of those points, which is like high
Mhm.
quality ingredients. And the way I may, like, currently I'm at the stage where I'm trying to figure out the science. I'm working with, food scientists and like formulation experts or agencies, and trying to figure out the science at the consultation level at this point of time, so that I can ensure or confidently move forward to the actual R&D, and therefore bring a good product to the market, which definitely performs much better or faster in my case, compared to the competitors, as well as it has all the right ingredients. I can be transparent about it and things like that. So I was hitting all of those points, but the most important takeaway that I got from your response was that you need to think long term a little bit, and ensure that if you are able to provide a right product and a good product to the market, you will get those repeat purchases, which will eventually increase your organic sales the next month and the next month and the next month, right?
Mhm. And hopefully you will reach the point where you have $50,000 in ad spend and 300, $400,000 in revenue.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
that's something you can confidently achieve with 10 to 20 different products in the supplements area, for
Right.
sure.
Yeah, I believe the core of this entire thing is that if you want, so I think I've been talking about this with other people as well, is that if
Mhm.
you get a good product to the market which just does what it's supposed to do and does it really well,
Yep.
then eventually your marketing cost will definitely reduce, because people will like to brag and talk about it with other people, right? And therefore you will get, like, slowly your ball will start rolling, and you'll get your organic sales coming through, even through just recommendations from people to people, right? And yeah, I guess that's the core of it generally when it comes to advertising. And if you're in that spot, then it is a no-brainer to just keep on scaling and then reach the people who haven't heard about it, right?
Mhm. Mhm. 100%. And also, supplements is a very good category, in my opinion, for you to enter offline as well.
Yeah.
Not just going off of Amazon, but
Right.
entering local drugstores and brick and
Right.
mortar businesses. It's something that will be used in the future a lot, especially the ones that improve immunity with people, with all the recent events.
Right. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this year I believe those kinds of supplements definitely sold a ton lot, right? Generally compared to any other year.
Yes, yes, but
Uh,
ideally, you did not want to be there when it happened, because you would run out of stock like crazy.
yes.
So that's one of the issues that they have
Yes.
seen this year. And also, you did not want to be in the luxury or air travel, any kind of travel, outdoor activity category.
Right.
The ones that profited the most this year from this whole situation, lockdown and coronavirus, are the ones that were, in the indoors activities, the indoor fitness
Right.
categories, house decorations, things like these, that people
Right.
were just stuck at home. They would bake homemade bread. So bread makers were going like crazy, much better. And it was like this ideal scenario where you had your sales grow, but you could still support it through the supply chain management,
Right.
and bigger orders, things like these. So
Right.
I
Yeah,
think
one
it's
other category that definitely saw a rise, in my opinion, because this happened on my store as well, which was toys. Because I believe parents wanted to keep their kids busy,
yeah.
and therefore toys also saw a bit of a jump, as like it was basically Q4 continued to 2020 Q1, right?
Yeah, and this is also going to be, I think, not only a trend, but something like a permanent change of demand for at least a couple of years. People will
Yeah.
stay more at home. They will be homeschooling a lot more. So thinking more in that direction. Also, one of the interesting categories, very interesting, is gardening. Like we've seen this not only on Amazon but through YouTube, like channels like gardening channels have like
Yeah.
300,000 subscribers
Right.
and rising. So people are getting more interested in how they could grow their own foods and things like
Right.
these. So it's something that I find very interesting.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, exactly. Like I had one of my posts on Instagram which was about that industry, and I read it on a blog that I'm a member of, and that whole niche of they call them succulent plants, like small plants that people buy. So
Yeah.
that as well as the DIY thing that people are doing right now in the gardening segment, both of them are something that is going to continue to rise rapidly in the coming years.
Yeah. High quality tools as well. Something that can be used to do something, or kits that are made of different elements.
Right.
Kits as products are always good. I like to advertise kits simply because if you have 4 or 5 different elements to something that makes a product, it's a package. It's something that's perceived as more valuable, and therefore customers are more willing to pay higher price points for that. So if you sell a comb and let me say it, for example, gardening kit, if you break down into each specific element of a gardening kit, each one will cost $3 to $5. It will be a pain in the ass to source every one of that, and you will only make like $1 of
Yeah.
profit for each sale. But if you combine them all together, then your average price point is going to be $20, and then you only get one sale with $7 profit, which is actually great. So think about it's something to think about.
Yep. All right. Let's circle back to a few basic questions because a lot of the audience who's going to be watching this would also find benefit in that. So,
Sure.
basic questions about PPC. When should somebody start PPC if they're launching a product?
If they're launching a product, how immediately if they can. Ideally, they will have a plan in place and a budget for product launch for at least the first 3 to 4 months. They will know that they will lose money in PPC. They will lose money in PPC but gain the ranks, and then your focus slowly turns from PPC to organic ranks, and that's something we usually consider it to be very healthy if your percentage of PPC sales is 30% of your total sales, meaning that if you have $10,000 total revenue per product, that if your PPC sales for that product are 3,000, something like 3,000, then it's a healthy account. It's something that's considered sustainable, but that's already in the mature phase of the product. But when you're launching, like I would recommend immediately starting with highly relevant keywords that will rise your click-through rates, and then a highly converting listing that will help you get the conversion rates that you need in order to gain that sales velocity, which is one of the main factors for ranking that Amazon's taking into account.
Yeah. So, regarding the conversion rate, a lot of members come to me as well. I started PPC right away when I launched my product, but I'm definitely losing money and I'm not getting sales because, they don't have reviews, they don't have things like that. And most of the times they haven't even fully optimized their listing to the best possible extent that they could optimize it for. So, like, how do you tackle such listings? Because you might also have certain listings that come your way through your clients, which are probably not very well optimized. So, what do you do in that scenario, or what would you advise to this person?
If we see that we're throwing money in PPC and that product isn't selling, then we first remove any kind of doubt from the listing itself, like check if the main image is okay, if this product has a product video, if the copywriting is in place. Like if we're being clear enough about the message that we're sending to the customer and clear about the product itself, then we remove any doubt from the product listing. Then in that case, we will wait just a little bit more. And if it still doesn't work, then it might mean that they missed the product chance. It doesn't happen very often though, because most of the cases they will do product research process really, really well, and then it will convert. In that case, if we have some inventory that's stuck, it's not selling, maybe it might be worthwhile to try changing the marketplace, because we've seen some products that we know for sure wouldn't sell in the USA that sell really well in Europe. And a lot of seven-figure sellers come from Europe, and they only focus on Europe because there is not a lot of competition there. You have 5-6 different marketplaces, one warehouse for them all, and that works. That's something that can totally cover you to build a seven-figure brand. So that being said, if we are throwing money in PPC and that product isn't selling for some reason, we would wait it out just a little bit until we start getting first reviews, or try to get some kind of feedback from the customer, try to check what's going on with the listing, if the listing is the reason why they're not gaining sales. And if we kind of like excluded every possible factor, then it might be just a shitty product, no marketing covers a shit product.
Exactly.
That's one of the best
Yeah,
things.
exactly. Yeah, if you have a bad product, I've read this somewhere, if you have a bad product and you market it, you'll basically be exposed, right?
Well, yeah, it's a pity, but
Yeah.
what can you do?
All right. So yeah, I do want to, because I'm curious about this. You said that a lot of European sellers, seven-figure sellers, come from the Europe marketplace because of the the leverage that they have of access to multiple marketplaces. Have you dealt with any clients who are in the US and they want to expand out to the Europe? If yes, then what were the changes that they had to do in their backend to even be compliant to the Europe marketplace, because there are a lot of different things and certifications and all that, right?
Yes, Europe definitely stricter than the USA when it comes to paperwork. So get ready for a lot of paperwork. There are agencies that can help you out with VAT registration, with local registration. I think it's hardest to enter the UK marketplace. Europe, everything else is easier. But there are agencies that specifically help you streamline the process. Also, one of the things that you need to overcome is the language barrier. If you're expanding from the US to the European marketplaces, each one of them is going to be in local languages, so you have to localize the copywriting for listings. So you will need professional translators. There are also agencies that do that. And everything else, when it comes to product launches, running products on Amazon, once you're past that registration and paperwork phase, then everything else becomes even easier than in the US, in my opinion. It's
Okay.
like it's falling behind. The marketplace in Europe is right now somewhere where the US used to be 2 or 3 years ago. So that I think it's mostly the stage of development of the marketplace that contributes to the success. So recently, that Amazon has introduced new rules for inventory management. You have to comply to different metrics that they have given to sellers in order to minimum IPI index score is 500. It used to be 350. It used to be super easy. Now you
Right.
have to get really serious about the inventory and the sell-throughs and all these things. So just caring about it will, I guess,
Right.
be something.
Right. Quick question. UK and Europe, is that treated separately, or they are one and the same?
If you're doing pan-European program, they're treated the same, I think. If you want
Okay.
to go one by one marketplace, then that's the one that's toughest, where I see most of our clients are encountering problems. And when they want to expand to Europe, they first start with UK marketplace because there are no language barriers. It's also English, so makes the whole process a lot more streamlined. But what they don't know is that one of the biggest marketplaces is actually German marketplace in Europe, and it's the oldest Amazon marketplace in Europe and the biggest one. And if I would recommend someone to begin in Europe, that's where I would say they should start. And Germany has always been the country where you make these tough things very simple for people, not just for businesses, but also for people. So it has a reputation of good business.
I see. I see. Wonderful. Uh, all right. Let's wrap this up. Let's go to the final bit because you also do copywriting. So I want to
Yeah.
ask you this question, which is, what sort of balance should a listing have in terms of having keywords stuffed into the title, bullet points, description, backend? Backend definitely is for only keywords. But what should be the balance between actually having a lot of keywords there and making it salesy, or trying to convince the people about how good the product is and what are the USPs through a natural language? Because that is always a struggle that I also personally have when I'm optimizing listing for myself or for others.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, good question. People who do SEO on Google for years, for example, they know that you should not stuff your text with keywords. Every 70 words should be a keyword. That's the rule when you're writing content for SEO on Google, for example. And that's the kind of rule that I would apply on Amazon as well. If you stuff it with keywords, you're not going to achieve much. In most of the cases, there's only going to be one or two keywords that are super relevant to your product, and everything else is going to be something that you can use as a substitute in the subject matter keywords and the tag and such term strings and things like these. And then focus on the copywriting. Good copywriting is a balance between optimizing, of course, for the algorithm, but also making it appeal to humans as much as possible. And not even trying to sound salesy, but the key of good copywriting is communicating the message clearly. What this product is, copywriting should help them understand what the product is, because they can't touch it. The closest that they will get, the closest impression about the product that they will get informing them their opinion is the video, is images. There also should be considered copywriting, because copywriting at its core is every type of material, whether that is text or image or video or any kind of GIF, something that is aimed towards selling a product, right? So good imagery, good infographics, all these things help out, make a good impression about the product. Most importantly, communicating what the product is so that they understand whether they want to buy it or not. And that's about it. If a product is good, it's a good choice. If it's a good offer, if it's a good price, all these other elements definitely contribute to the sales of the product, not only copywriting. Try not to stuff it with keywords, because you won't achieve better ranking at all. You will achieve better ranking if you mention a keyword here or there, a little bit in the title, a little bit in the bullet points, in the description, not too much, but also have very good sales velocity, which is basically a combination of it's a combination of good conversion rate in the first place, but also click-through rate. Those are the signals that show Amazon that you are selling a product that someone needs, that delivering someone's needs, answer someone's needs.
Exactly. So something about indexing that I want to understand from you is that I do all of these experiments sometimes. Sometimes I want to see if this alternate keyword or this keyword that is not directly relevant to my product, but is relevant to the target audience that my product caters to, and I try to just run PPC ads for that product. So my curious question to you is that if you just start running PPC ads for a certain keyword that you want to test, and you start converting on that keyword, but it does not exist in your listing at all, on the forefront or in the backend, would you still start ranking for that? Is that something that is that how it works or should work?
If you're ranking for keywords, do you mean something that's relevant to your product?
Yeah, something that's getting you sales converting, but you haven't thoughtfully added it to the listing, or it wasn't relevant enough for you to add it to the listing.
Yeah, that happens a lot, and in most of the cases we didn't think about it before, but then Amazon has discovered us. Okay, this is what we think that your product is, and this is where we are positioning it.
Right.
In that case, yes, add it to the listing. Because it's going to bring you more sales. It's going to bring you expand the marketplace. That's one of the reasons why we use auto campaigns as well, because we want to discover where in the whole process, where in the whole marketplace we are being positioned by Amazon as a product, as a brand, what they think that our product represents. So yeah, definitely, if it's relevant, make sure you add it to the listing.
Wonderful, Alina. That was a lot of information. I myself learned a great deal out of this conversation, and I believe we started with scalability, and that is something that I anyways wanted to learn more about, because that's where I'm looking at. I'm looking to start brands which I would probably scale for years to come, and not just run it for a year and then sign it off, right? So that was definitely helpful. Can you tell everybody that how should everybody contact you or reach you, and what should be the best way? And also answer the question about when should somebody contact you to work with you, or generally even hire an agency. That is also something that I wanted to ask you, because a lot of people don't understand what is the right time for them in their state of business to actually start working with an agency.
Mm-hmm. To answer your first question, anyone can go to our website, amazoniappc.com, and contact us through contact form. It's always being monitored, so we answer pretty quickly. When should you hire an agency? As soon as you are sure that you have figured out, as soon as you're sure that you have that you need help with PPC, you should not hire an expert in case if you want a magician. You should hire an agency when you need a partner to just deal with that part of your business. That's
Right.
how I honestly feel about it. We can definitely scale an account if we have all the preconditions in place. We have enough budget, there's demand, product is great, all these things. We fight through the competition, we communicate with our clients very well, and we do have cases like these. But in most of the cases, our clients come to us when they already have all these things figured out. They just want someone that's like very reliable partner to manage the PPC side of their business, monitor updates to the platform, and see if they can qualify for DSP, the demand side platform, which is something that will give you remarketing abilities and all these additional things, driving external traffic to the listing and consulting just in general. So that they can focus on sourcing and all these other things, inventory management, for example,
Right.
etc. So
Right.
that's the right time to hire an agency.
Right.
Everything else can easily be covered with a virtual assistant, whether that is from the Philippines or here in the Eastern Europe. It's a very popular demand right now.
Right. Wonderful. All right, Alina, it was wonderful talking to you. So I will cut this off over here.
Alright, hey guys, I hope you found a great deal of information in this video. I hope this video was value packed, and I did my best to edit this video in a manner so that you get the most information out of this video with the show notes that were there across the video on the screen. I hope you took screenshots, I hope you took notes, right? If you happen to like this video, and if you happen to like the content that I'm bringing on this channel, don't forget to like this video, which tells the YouTube algorithm that this content is good and more people should be looking at this. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell as well. Share this video on Facebook or Instagram, tag me with my handle Rish RYK. I would be super thrilled to discover you guys who are my subscribers, and also know for a fact that my videos are bringing value to you. All right, so that is all for this video. I will see you next week on this channel. Don't forget to check out PPC Masterclass Part 1 and Part 2. Both of these videos are again filled with hyper value. So do check them out, take notes, learn as much as you can, and ask questions in the comments, because I will try my best to get back to you with the answers. I will see you next week. Take care.